video. Today we will be doing some really easy warm-up movements. These will come in handy if you want to go out for a walk or a hike or any other activity. Really, they'll be useful. Also, if you want to take a break from the computer and just move around a little bit, these will be really nice movements to do for that. The first one's called Proud Mountain. It's a flexion and extension exercise. You can make just a very loose fist with your hands, and then what you're thinking about is it's just a little flexing movement, an extending movement, like you're looking downward and upward. And to get the whole body involved in this movement, we're going to be aware of different parts of ourselves. How do I ground myself? How do my feet change contact with the floor as I go through this movement? When do I feel the weight shifting toward my toes? When do I feel the weight shifting toward my heels? And then moving up from the feet, we can pay attention to the knees. When do I feel my knees extending? When do I feel my knees bending? I can also think about the pelvis. And if I put my hands on the iliac crest of the pelvis, the top of the pelvis, this isn't my hips. This is the iliac crest. The hips are down by the groin. How do I feel the pelvis move in this movement? When do I feel the pelvis tipping forward? When do I feel the pelvis tipping backwards? What's the relationship between my pelvis and my head? I could even put one hand on my head, one hand on my pelvis. Feel when my pelvis and head move together. Feel when my pelvis and my head move apart. And noticing what that does to the spine, when the spine bends forward or flexes, when the spine bends backwards or extends. And finally, as I roll the arms inward and roll the arms outward, how do I feel the shoulder blades become involved in the movement? Let's also add the eyes. How does looking up help the movement? How does looking down help the movement? Our next movement is going to be a side bending movement, and if you want, you can just put your feet a little further apart if that's more comfortable. Thinking about just bending to one side and slowly bending to the other side. And noticing again, how do my feet change contact with the floor? I know you can't see my feet, but I feel a shifting of it. We may do another video just focusing on the feet and how we use our feet to ground in these movements. That might be a nice separate video to do. But when do I feel like I roll onto the outside of my foot? When do I feel like I roll into the inside of my foot? And can I notice that there's an equal and opposite thing happening between the two feet to help me get support for this side bending movement? How I ground myself using my feet. Again, I could put my hands up, feel Notice when one side goes up, when the other side goes down. How does that relate to the head? And then I can notice the two sides of myself. What side gets shorter, what side gets longer. So I can feel that this isn't just working a part of me, but I can feel the whole of myself becoming involved with this movement and participating in the movement. Noticing how one arm reaches downward, the other arm comes up a little. From the side bending movement, we can move into the twisting movement, and this you've probably seen people do in gyms and at the park before doing Tai Chi. Think about shifting the weight onto one leg and slowly turning, shifting, slowly turning. People usually do this movement kind of fast, but do it slow. The slower you do the movement, the better you'll be able to work on your balance and finding support from the ground. That's why Tai Chi's done slow so effectively. And notice, where do you feel as you shift the weight? Where do you feel the weight go into the foot? Is it toward the ball of the foot, toward the heel, the inside of the foot, the outside of the foot? Where does it make sense for you to put the weight, move the weight toward what part of the foot so you feel the most stable as you're turning? And as you have the weight on one leg, what can you do with the other leg to help you turn more? And again, how is the pelvis going to move and participate in the turning? So we're working from the bottom up. As we continue to go through the turning, is there anything you can do with the arms to help the turning? How do you feel the shoulder blades participating to help you turn your head? And then what can you do with the eyes to make the movement smoother and more efficient? For this next one, we're just going to make pelvic circles. And you can just have your hands lightly on the iliac crest. And you're thinking about just circling around. It's almost like a belly dancing type movement or a hula hoop type movement. And you can feel the little weight shifts on your feet. Notice when the knees are going to bend and extend and how you coordinate that together. You could do these movements anywhere from 6 to 10 times. The slower, the softer you do the movement, the more effective it will be for you and the less you'll have to do. And notice how this movement goes all the way up, and you can feel that there's movement in the sternum, in the spine. Once you do a certain amount circling one way, you're going to make the circles in the other way. Again, pay attention. Your feet are going to contact the floor a little differently as you move and make your circle. The figure eights is a very valuable movement for walking and hiking. It really prepares the hips well for that. So again, you can just have your hands lightly on your iliac crest, and you're thinking about circling over one foot. So it's a little different than the pelvic circles. You're thinking about circling over one foot, Right now I'm over toward the toes of the one foot, and I come back toward the heel of the other foot, and I shift toward the toes of the other foot, and come back to the heels of the other foot. I'm thinking about drawing an 8. I'm drawing an 8 between my 2 feet. And again, feeling how the contact of my foot changes on the ground so I have support. Noticing how the pelvis is moving. And then I'm going to take it in the opposite direction. Now from there we can do an upper body exercise. Arms are going to be about shoulder height with a loose fist. One fist is up and the other's down. Turning to look at the upward fist. And then as I rotate the arms, I turn to look at the other fist. And I can reach out a little bit. Looking at the turning fist upward and lengthening that arm. And I'm thinking about rotating from the elbows. So I can feel as the one fist goes upward, I can feel the elbow turning down and the other one elbow turning back a little. So the movement, the more I can feel the movement coming from the elbows and not just the forearms, the more I can feel movement in the shoulder blades and feel how the shoulder blades are gliding over the ribs. If you want to be fancy, you could even shift your feet around so your feet point a little bit toward that upward fist. And now all of a sudden it's kind of looking more like a dance. Just a couple more for you. And these ones really have a nice relationship to walking. The one is just going to be a slow march. And it's just bending the knee. And I want to have my feet set about the normal width apart where I walk. And I'm just thinking about one knee bending and feeling how I shift my weight and find support with the other foot. And I can just let my arms go with that. And I'm just thinking about bending one knee forward and then bending the other knee forward. And noticing to bend the knee and to lighten the weight on the foot so I can bend the knee, I need to shift the weight into the other leg. And noticing where I feel the support. Where do I put my weight? Where am I going to shift my weight over so I feel the most balanced and stable? And I can notice there's a little movement in the pelvis as I do this. I could also notice there's a little movement in the shoulders, which will transfer down to the arms. Another really good movement for walking and hiking. We're going to use the chair for balance, and it's just a kicking back exercise. You're just going to think like you're kicking sand behind you. Then you can do the other leg. So get the feeling of doing this one first, and then when you get comfortable with the exercise, you can do the kicking and the walking. So you're just going to kick with a leg, kick and step, kick and step. Kick to stand back and step, kick to stand back and step. If you want to get fancy, you can walk forwards, you can walk backwards. Last one we're going to do is arms and how we can use the arms for walking and hiking. And thinking about the movement of the arms, and this is great if you want to power walk. The movement of the arms in power walking are going to be from your side, from the wrist to about the elbows. This right here is ineffective. Keep the arms bent about 90 degrees. It could be a little less, a little more. But the idea is moving from like the wrist to the elbow. And you can see, if I get these arms moving in a nice way, you can see how that powers the pelvis and the hips. Every good runner or sprinter knows that the arms drive the hips. So this is a really good one to work on your power walking, your fast walking, to get your arms really moving in an efficient way. And this is what it looks from the front. As you can see, I'm not really passing the midline. And it's going from wrist to elbow, and it's not this, right? It's the hands go a little from the center line, a little bit out. But it's a nice tight movement. And as I keep this movement nice and tight, you can see how the arm drive can power the rest of me. Oh, let's give everybody a bonus one. This one, because it involves the foot. I'm going to move the computer so you can see my feet. Use the chair for support, 1 foot behind. Think about making a circle with your knee. And you can feel how the circling of the knee can move the foot. The nice thing is thinking about the circling of the knee, that will also help work with your hip joint. So the ball of 1 foot on the ground, the heel up toward the ceiling, thinking about the knee. And I'm finding with this leg, my circle's kind of sloppy. Not quite as nice as the other one. So what I can do is I can just think of my knee going forward and back first. And then my knee turning in, turning out. So I can do simpler movements of my knee. And then I can go to the circles and see if I can make the circle a little bit nicer. And because I had quite a few injuries on this foot and this leg, I need to slow it down. And if I find a rough patch, I could even kind of go through that rough patch a little bit. I could play with ideas. I can play with, is there something, can I hold my pelvis a little less tight, and will that help? Yeah, so I can feel that this is one I need to do a little bit more every day. So when you feel big differences between one side and the other side, you know that that's a particular movement you want to work with a little more. Hope this helps. Take care.